Hello there. What's going on, everybody? Today I'm bringing to you another top 10 list. This is for KeyForge's Shadows faction. I'm going to be bringing to you my top 10 Shadows cards. This is a preliminary list, so a lot of this stuff is likely to change depending on how the game evolves, progresses, as we become more comfortable with the game, and as we learn Shadows' tricks. Certain cards may become less important, some things may become more important. All that being said, this is still an early list, so if you disagree with anything on this list, feel free to let me know down in the comments below. Speaking of the comments below, have you entered to win my Super Star Destroyer giveaway yet? I'm giving away a Super Star Destroyer for Star Wars Armada. All you have to do to enter to win that giveaway is become a subscriber and click the bell for alerts. Well, you don't have to click the bell for alerts, but you might miss when the winner comes out. But you also have to leave a comment. By clicking that bell for alerts, joining the notification squad is a great way to stay up to date on all my latest videos. I do have new videos every day, and I cover all kinds of Fantasy Flight games, Star Wars games, Star Wars news, regular board games, how to plays, all of that good stuff. So hopefully, I've encouraged you to enter that giveaway, because on December 21st, we're going to announce the winner. There or abouts. It might be December 20th, might be December 22nd by the time you notice it. But I'm shooting for December 21st, but it's still a good idea to click that notification squad little bell for alerts. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into the top 10. I'm going to also preface this with, there were a lot of really good cards. Some things came in, just quite didn't make the cut. So if your favorite card, your favorite card might not have made the cut. It might have been in my top 15, but I couldn't do like a top 17 list. It just wasn't well-rounded enough. So for top 10, I'm taking a little bit of executive privilege here as I'm putting Bad Penny on here. I know some people don't like Bad Penny. I think Bad Penny is one of those things that some people either love or hate. And I love her because of all of the hijinks, the shenanigans that I've seen, combinations with Seeker Needle and Bad Penny, like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to reap with Bad Penny, and I'm going to Seeker Needle my own Bad Penny, kill her. Then I'm going to play my own other Bad Penny, and I want to have Speed Sigil out so she comes into play ready, and then I'm going to, reap with her again. One Bad Penny can give you so much use and fun shenanigans. I think she's just a really, really fun character to have out, and I think she lends herself very, very well to a lot of internal combos that Shadows has. It is possible to get a deck with Bad Penny and have her not do much if you just don't have the cards, but I think your chances of that are, kind of slim. I think there's a very good chance you're going to have at least one combo that works well with Bad Penny, if not many combos that work well with Bad Penny. So she's just really cool. And, from an opponent's point of view, she kind of can be hard to get rid of. Granted, she's not a huge threat, but because she always comes back, whenever you're activating her, you've called House Shadows already, so you can easily sacrifice her or reap with her or whatever, and anything that happens to her, you can bring her right back out. If you have to fight, maybe to get rid of an elusive charge on another creature, or to punch through that armor so that your next attack actually goes through and does full damage, all of these things are nice. She's just very, very useful, and she's not really bad at anything. She's not great at anything. She's kind of like a jack of all trades. I guess she is bad at being Penny. Oh, that was so terrible. This is how you know I have lots of kids, because my jokes just progressively get worse as my kids get older. It's really a talent. I don't know. It's just, I think it's in the DNA of having children. All right, I'm going to jump to number 9 now. But yeah, Bad Penny at number 10. Number 9 is another creature, Urchin. And there's a lot of things I like about Urchin. Urchin, it kind of sums up a lot of the Shadows faction as a whole. Shadows has a lot of really small creatures, but they're annoying creatures. They're creatures that steal from your opponents, or that mess with your opponents, that give your opponents a hard time. That's kind of like what Shadow is all about. Like, Shadow has like so much stealing, has so much disruption, and there's a great example of it. Urchin is, again, a weak creature, 1 power, elusive, so a little bit harder to kill. It's going to require, either a dedicated attack or a damage clearing spell. But the other thing about Urchin that makes him really useful is that he's got a play ability to steal 1. So that is doing a whole bunch of different things. First off, you're gaining an amber, so that's good. Also, you're taking an amber from your opponent, so it's actually a net gain of 2 from a certain point of view. So that his play of steal 1 is right away. It's happening right away, so it's not like he doesn't require you to reap to do it. And then third of all, he's a creature that's going to be out there that you can reap with every turn. That's going to be harder to kill. So I kind of look at him as almost like a four things in one. All right, you play, they lose one, you gain one. They have to attack also 2 times to try to kill him. So Urshin's just really nice, but the thing that makes him even better is that he has also natural synergy with certain cards. Now he's already good enough, I think, to make, to at least be a candidate for this list. But you've also got other cards like Fagin right here who synergize with Urchin that make Urchin even better. And so that like guaranteed Urchin's spot on the list. Now Fagin did not make the list, although he's being mentioned here as like a supporting factor for number 9. And that's just because, he makes Urchin even better. But the thing is, he works better in a deck that if you have like a lot of Urchins or more than one Urchin. If you have a Fagin and only one Urchin, it's not really that great. Urchin is really the star here. I would rather have 2 Urchins than a Fagin and 1 Urchin. That's just me. So Urchin is better than Fagin, but Fagin makes Urchin even better. All right. Number 8. The Sting. This one is really weird. This one is just a very bizarre card, but very, can be potentially catastrophic. So when it's, countered with the right types of cards like Marmook or things that Grabber Jammer, things that make your opponent's keys cost more, you're getting all of that. But let's start off with, hey, it gives you an amber. So it's already pretty nice there. And somebody said to me the other day that that maybe I put too much value, too much weight on cards that generate amber. And I don't know if that's true. I mean, I get that, but that's just a good thing. It's not like I put them in a list like, oh, cards in here that generate amber all make my top 10. I mean, look, Bad Penny doesn't, Fagin doesn't, from a certain point of view, Urchin does, but not, he doesn't have the amber symbol on him. But Sting can get you an awful lot of amber. A very high amount. Now he is going to have a drawback because when your opponent you don't get to forge a key. There are other things that can synergize with this that can let you forge keys be outside of your forge a key step. Shadows has one card that lets you do that, but like if you have Shadows and Untamed has multiple cards that let you do that. So and there's other. I think Mars has a card that lets you do that. There's lots of. Maybe you have a Maverick that lets you do that. So there's definitely ways to get around this limitation, but also it has a built-in way to get around the limitation, as you can just sacrifice this thing at any point. So anytime your opponent forges a key, you're going to get all of that amber. This is a great way to just kind of play that slow game where you're like, okay, of course you have to be careful with a game like a card like this. You don't want to necessarily use this against, another, if your opponent has a deck that can steal massive quantities of amber. But this is, and again, you're going to look at your opponent's deck. You might just play this early on when you weren't able to forge a key anyway, and your opponent is going to about to forge a key. You play this, you gain 1 amber right away. You're going to gain the 6 amber when your opponent forges their key, and then the next turn you just sacrifice the Sting and then get ready to forge a key. So you can use it just for a little bit, or you can use it for a lot and end up with like 20 something amber. Of course, by that time, your opponent's probably already forged 2 keys, so you'll have to rely a little bit on Shadow's other shenanigans to make sure they don't forge another one. So it's a little risky, but it's a lot of fun, and it definitely feels like it changes the game up a little bit, and I think it's a really fun card. This one may go down a little bit more, though, over time, and I could see some people disagreeing with Sting, but it is a really cool card, and I think there's multiple ways to play this, and like the timing of when you bring it out and when you sacrifice it are what's going to make it either rise or fall in the standings over time, because I think this is a card that we can get better with as using, or potentially our opponents might be able to predict a little bit more and be able to counter a little more effectively. Number 7, Miasma. Great card. This one is, it's kind of doing a little bit of what Sting does, but it's basically is a very simple, your opponent skips their forge a key step. I mean, of course, it does what Sting does in reverse, right? This one is so great for a number of reasons. And I'm going to lead with, hey, it gives you an amber. So that is a bonus, but that's not why it's on here. That's just one thing that maybe pushed it up a little higher. I think it would have made the list regardless, maybe just lower. So your opponent skips their forge a key step. awesome when you just don't have anything to slow them down, but also combos extremely well with other Shadows stuff. So the idea here is that, while your opponent has gained enough amber to potentially forge a key, they're probably going to gain amber every turn, or maybe hopefully they're gaining some amber every turn. Well, not hopefully, but likely that they're gaining some amber every turn. You're going to stop them. Maybe they have 6 this turn. Maybe next turn now they'll be up to like 8 or 9, and then you play some. You follow up with a massive thievery kind of turn, and then you're able to steal even more than you would have had you just played that. Additionally, if you find yourself in a race where you're both generating amber very, very quickly, Miasma can stall and give you the time you need to come ahead, and because you can only forge 1 key per turn. So if your opponent plays this power turn, like let's say it's Shadows versus Shadows, my opponent had Sting, I forged a key, and maybe I had to forge it, plus something cost or whatever. My opponent turns around and ends up having 16 amber. I play Miasma. Oh, okay. Well, you know what? You don't get to forge a key on your next turn, so you're gonna have to hold on to that 16 amber for a whole nother turn beyond what you wanted to. And now you're really in danger, because now I could just have to forge 1 more key to win, and you're not going to have the 3 turns of forging a key every turn to play catch up. So it's good for that, but it really combos very, very well with other Shadows cards. And it's also just great when you have nothing else to stop them or steal or capture. So it's just good for a whole bunch of reasons. And it generates an amber too. So you could even play this for no reason if you just wanted it out of your hand, like maybe early in the game, and you just needed an amber early. Number 6, Nicklifter. The Nicklifter is another weak creature. He's only 2 power. He's an elf and a thief, and he totally lets you steal something. And I love that. But he does beyond just letting you steal something. He lets you steal it for the game. So even if he leaves play, you still control the enemy artifact. And on top of that, if it doesn't belong to one of your 3 houses, it gains House Shadows. It's going to be House Shadows. So not only are you stealing something, but you also get around the whole, I stole something that was Mars. Now I have to call House Mars if I want to use it. No. Now it's while it's under your control, it's Shadows, so you don't even have to call a different house to use it. Really, really nice, and especially considering that when you want to take, artifacts can be difficult to deal with, and when you really do, like a lot of times people want to destroy an artifact or shuffle it into their opponent's decks, but to steal an artifact really, really can totally throw a wrench in your opponent's plans. I love it. So many good uses for it. Next up, Too Much to Protect. This is number 5, and this one is a doozy. See, all these times I've been talking about, I've kind of been building up to one like this. This is one of my favorite Shadows cards, because it's the big steal. It's the big thievery, right? You've denied your opponent the ability to forge a key. You've denied them the ability to, to do that, and now you're coming back with, like you played Miasma. Oh, no forging a key this turn. Or your opponent has stolen a bunch from you. They can't forge a key. They can't forge all the keys on one turn. They steal a big one from you, or they just generate like 18 amber or whatever. Then you say Too Much to Protect. You take all but 6. If you happen to have something also out that is increasing the cost of their keys, then this also means they don't get to forge a key next turn, because you leave them with 6. If their cost is +1, then then it hurts them even more. But this is just a huge thievery, and it definitely requires a little bit of setup. But on top of that, it also gives you an amber. So you're going to end up with a lot of amber after playing Too Much to Protect. You just have to play it right. This one could move up higher even in the list as time goes on. I think this is going to be one of those ones that people really look for, because it requires a little bit of timing and prediction and skill to make it pay off optimally. But it can still work partially if you play it at the wrong time. It might still get you a little bit. All right, so that was number 6. Number 5. Moving on to number 4, it's Mack the Knife. Here is a really cool creature. A little stronger than some other shadow creatures at power 3. And elusive at that, so he's not as, not quite as easy to get rid of. And he's also very, very easy for you to use, because you can use him as though he belonged to the active house. You can basically almost always use him unless you have not called any house. So he's not Omni. He's just almost Omni, right? And as an action, you can deal 1 to a creature. If that damage destroys that creature, gain 1. So he's like basically he's got a whole bunch of secret needles hidden in his clothes. You can use him every single turn, virtually, and he's dealing damage, and you can gain. So it's almost like he's attacking and giving you amber. So he can almost attack. He can almost fight and reap without him having to take damage. And of course, if there's no creatures out, you just reap as normal. But really versatile creature, can work in every situation. He's hard to get rid of. He's one of the harder Shadows creatures to get rid of because while he's elusive, he's also got that higher power level. So some removal spells aren't even going to do it. So I really like Mack the Knife. Number 3, Shadow Self. So Shadow Self is just one of the best utility creatures in all of Shadows, and the reason he ranks so high, he or she, I don't know, there's really not a gender for a specter, really, but the reason Shadow Self ranks so high is that there's so much synergy with just about every single creature in this entire faction. If you've got Shadow Self and at least one other creature, you're going to have a combo, because every single creature in Shadows wants to be right next to a Shadow Self, with the exception of maybe another Shadow Self. So he's power 9, which is very out of character, but he doesn't deal damage when fighting. So his power 9 is really just 9 health. He's like a 09 wall if this were Magic the Gathering. Damage dealt to non-specter neighbors, which means anything other than a Shadow Self. At the moment, I mean, there may be other specters out there someday, is dealt to Shadow Self instead. So he just goes next to other people and absorbs all of their damage. Now, massive damage spells will still take him down pretty well, but it will still protect the neighboring creatures, because he'll absorb all of that damage, then he'll pop, if it's sufficient enough, massive damage spell, and just great protection. This protects against attacks. This protects against mass removal spells. This protects against almost everything. What this doesn't protect against is like the things that just say straight up destroy. He protects against mass damage spells. It doesn't protect against Gateway to Dis, but few things do. But yeah, he's really, really good. Has so much natural synergy with just about everything. Heck, even out of faction, he's got great synergy with. Everybody loves to put like their weak utility creatures, a Restringuntus, for example, right next to a Shadow Self. Amazing. So Shadow Self is just amazing for Shadows, and he's really, really good for other things as well. Super, super cool. I mean, imagine this guy with Sanctum, and you put, a knight next to him that's giving him shields. So now his shields are absorbing for other people as well. So good. All right. Shadow Self is number 3. Number 2, the Subtle Maul. Never have I seen people get so upset when you get 2 Subtle Mauls out and you're making them discard 2 cards every turn. There's the Subtle Maul's one of those artifacts that's just so nasty. It makes your opponent really dread whenever you're going to call House Shadows, because you're going to make them discard a card, and it's going to end up being, it's going to have the chance, it's going to be that card that they really needed to make their next turn combo well and work. It's so nasty. And what makes it nasty is this is worse than, like, there's cards out there that reduce your opponent's hand size by 1. That's nasty and all, and I get that. But this one, effectively, is the same thing but worse, because they're looking at their hand, they're making a plan, and then you pull, like, the linchpin out of it, and they're like, oh, well, now this next turn's going to, so you mess with their plans right before you say you're done. And now they have to, like, restructure and everything. It's like, it's total mind games. It's a little bit griefing, and I'm not a big fan of discard stuff, so I'm glad that people can't build decks and just put 4 Subtle Mauls in every deck they build. Because could you imagine, you only got 1 card per turn, and your opponent just kept calling Shadows over and over and over again, 1 card per turn. Oh, and they had if you had 4 Subtle Mauls and like the disc creature that says your hand size was reduced by 1 or something like that, that would just be it. I'd be game. It'd be a miserable time for all. So, nobody really wants that. But having a Subtle Maul out there, even 1, sometimes you can have 2. I've seen 2. I don't think I have any decks that have more than 2. I'm sure there's probably some out there. I hope not, though, because this card is it can totally be a game changer. It can be totally really put pressure on your opponent. Fortunately, the game itself has pressure on you to eventually pick something other than shadows, so you really won't be able to use this every turn unless you're just absolutely committed to griefing your opponent. But I think if you do that, you're going to suffer because you won't be playing other cards, you won't be activating other creatures, but it's just a very, very strong, and it's a great tool to just apply pressure to your opponent every turn. And this is also the reason this is so high is that it works in 100% of decks. It doesn't require any combo, doesn't require any synergy. Every time you call shadows, you can use this. There are times where you'll be able to use this outside of shadows as well, because other houses will sometimes let you use things outside. But it's just a great card, really great card. I really enjoy this card. And I acknowledge that it can cause a little bit of grief, but that's only because it's so strong. The Subtle Maul at number 2. Have you guessed number 1 yet? I bet you have. Here comes number 1. It's going to be Bait and Switch. I'm sure you've probably guessed this. This is the one card that strikes the most fear into people's hearts. And this is one of those reasons where people are sometimes just reluctant to generate more amber than they need. And it's not just too much to protect. It's also Bait and Switch. Bait and Switch, so nasty. So if your opponent has more amber than you, steal one and repeat this over and over and over again until they no longer have more amber than you. It's so nasty. This is that card that counters all of the big steals. This is that card that counters all of the all of the craziness. And what's great is that it's built in to not also be vulnerable to itself. So if you play a Bait and Switch, you don't have to worry about your opponent turning around and using it directly on you, because you guys are going to be tied, or you guys are going to be virtually even. So, now granted, if you then forge a key, then they might turn around and use it on you. So you have to kind of be prepared for things like that. But this is just one of those cards you get and you hold all game until you get the right moment. And I've played so many games where I have shadows, and maybe I don't have Bait and Switch in my hand, but they think I do, and so they deliberately hold back. This is like the game. This is the card that I feel like the entire Shadows minigame is based off of. I feel like everything that Shadows has done and does is reflected in this card. It's all about timing. It's all about stealing. It's all about letting your opponent do the work for you. Oh, for your last 3 or 4 turns, you've been building up to this massive boom. You have all this amber now. Great, I'll take all of that, or half of it. You get to keep a little bit. And so the timing on this one really factors into it. But there's, as long as they have more than you, there's no bad time to play this card. The only, reason is that I don't think I've ever seen a deck with 2 Bait and Switches. I feel like right now this is. And again, this game is still in the early stages, but on everything that I've seen, I've only seen a single Bait and Switch, a single copy of Bait and Switch in any given deck. So I don't know if that's part of the algorithm, and if so, I'm okay with that, because it is that strong. Having 2 Bait and Switches would be nasty, but I haven't run into that yet. I haven't seen it, and I've looked a little bit. Granted, I mean, there's like 200,000 decks registered already, so it's. I'll be honest with you, I'm not going to go looking through 200,000 decks. And since they changed the algorithm where you can't search for card names anymore, it's become increasingly difficult. You kind of have to just say. And so that's a good opportunity. If you have a deck and a deck name that can be searched for with more than 1 copy of Bait and Switch, leave it down. Actually, if you have one with 3, because I said that, I'm sure somebody out there probably has one with 2. I'm really curious, and I'm interested to see. Or especially if you've got one with 3. So if you've seen a deck, if you know a deck name that has more than 1 Bait and Switch, let me know down in the comments below. I would love to check it out. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I also want to thank my patrons for supporting me. You guys are amazing and really help make everything here possible. So big thanks to you guys as well. I want to invite you guys to subscribe again. Click that bell for alerts. Don't forget to check out Crabbok.com. You can hop in my Discord. We can talk some KeyForge over there as well. I want to thank you guys again so much, and have a great day and happy holidays.